It is a treat to be here with you as always. As Dale said, my name is Andrea and I'm the Kids Ministry Coordinator here at the church. And today we are going to be learning a new parable. Now, I know how much this congregation loves to act, so I will give you a forewarning that I will be requesting volunteers. Kids, you might need to apply some pressure on your parents. So Jesus once told a parable about a rich man. But sometimes hearing the story is not enough. We need to see it, maybe step into it to experience it and really feel what is going on. So today we are going to act it out, and maybe by experiencing the story together in a new way, we'll hear Jesus' teaching with fresh ears and fresh eyes and recognize what he might be trying to say to us. So our parable begins with a rich man. Do I have a volunteer in the crowd who feels extra confident, who could be our rich man? So here is our rich man. He looks very proud and pleased. Extra pleased. The rich man can take a seat at his beautiful couch over here in his beautiful home. He looks very comfortable and relaxed. But if you have heard a parable before, you know when the story starts with, "There once was a rich man," it's not a very good sign. He's probably not going to be the hero of our story. In the parable, the rich man does not even get a name. And that's because he's not meant to be a specific person. He's meant to be a type of person, one who lives only for himself. Just look at him and his fancy clothes. Yeah. All of his expensive decorations and the kind of confidence that you only get from way too many compliments. And have you noticed he's looking quite well fed, isn't he? That's not the look of somebody who skips meals. Nope, only someone with a full pantry, a personal chef, and zero worries about groceries ends up looking that plump. Outside of the rich man's house, there is a gate, custom designed, the envy of the entire neighborhood, unscalable, impenetrable, and ornate. Why is there a gate? Well, on the surface, it makes sense. Gates keep your property safe. They keep your life private and your riches secure. But in this story, the gate does more than just guard stuff. It draws a line or a barrier. It keeps everything neat and tidy and under control as long as you're on the inside. But on the outside, it's a different story. On the other side of the man's rich gate, there is a poor man named Lazarus. Do we have a volunteer who is really effective at laying on the ground? Oh, I hear a John. Look at poor Lazarus. His name is broken. He's weak. Yeah. And very poor. And he's very hungry. Yeah. He's actually so hungry and so weak. He's so poor and so weak that it's likely he couldn't even walk to the gate on his own. Somebody might have found him one day on a different street and gently carried him, setting him down by the rich man's gate, hoping just maybe, the rich man would notice. Maybe the rich man would notice and take care of him. Did you know that in those days it was actually customary for rich people, Romans or Jewish people, to care for the poor? It was culturally expected. So placing Lazarus by the gate wasn't just random, it was an act of hope. But did the rich man help? What do you guys think? Is the rich man going to help? Well, let's wait and see what happens. Okay, let's close this gate, rich man. Make sure, or Lazarus. You know where you belong. So every day the story was the same. The rich man would wake up, let out a very big yawn, do his morning stretches, walk over to his window, peek outside with a smug little grin and say, "What a beautiful day to be me."
What a beautiful day to be me.
But then he realized he was hungry. And he would walk over to his gate and call for his servant to bring him some food. The servant ran off to the market and brought back some food. Oh, hand it over nicely. The rich man showed it off in the other direction. Yeah. He grabbed his wonderfully large-sized cup of boba tea, looked briefly at Lazarus, and then shut the gate and returned to his wonderful couch and enjoyed his boba tea. The next morning, the story was exactly the same. He woke up again, returned to the gate, rubbing his belly, letting out a hearty chuckle, grinning with delight, completely giddy, over the glorious feast he knew he was going to devour again. So he opened the gate, called for another servant.
Jonah, fetch me my food.
And he said, "Wait, pause." He said, "This time I want more." So the servant ran off to the market and made sure to bring some extra food. This time he brought some pizza and KD. And the rich man went back inside, this time didn't even look at Lazarus, made sure his gate was very securely closed. Yeah. He sat down, he ate his food, wiped his mouth, and looked very content. But Lazarus continued to lay outside of the gate, so weak, so hungry, and totally forgotten. He shifted painfully, his arms wrapped around his stomach, and no one stopped to help. No one even looked. But every so often, a scruffy little dog in the neighborhood noticed. Does anybody here have a dog with them? The dog saw Lazarus, and the dog cared. He would trot right over to Lazarus and snuggle right up beside him and keep him comfortable. Have you ever noticed that animals can tell when somebody is suffering, and they snuggle right in close? The dog saw him, but the people, they didn't. Who showed more kindness? Who acted more human? Well, another day passes, and the rich man comes to the gate again. Go sit down. This time he realizes he is more hungry than he's ever been, and he wants to feast like a king. So he says, "I want to feast like a king." And a servant runs up to the gate and looks very confused. there isn't a celebration today, a holiday, and it doesn't appear that this rich man has any guests. Why is he ordering so much food? And the rich man says, because I can.
Because I can.
So this time, all of the servants in the land go and collect all of the food from the market. And the servants carefully display the food so that everybody can see how beautiful the feast looks. And then the servants go return to their homes. And the rich man reorganizes the food to make sure he has a place to sit down. So the rich man's dining table and his whole home is now filled with the most amazing spread of food. I mean, can you see it? He has Fruit Loops, rainbow grapes, rainbow hot dogs, spaghetti, pumpkins, McDonald's French fries, sushi, everything a man could possibly desire. And he eats. And then he lets out a satisfied sigh. And then a strange cough. And then he clutches at his chest. And he looks very concerned. Oh, and as the parable goes, he collapses. And the audience gasps. And just like that, the rich man is dead from a belly full of luxury. Well, strangely enough, on the other side of the gate, Lazarus' life also comes to an end. Fate can't resist a good plot twist. It wasn't a grand, dramatic moment like the rich man's sudden collapse, just quiet, almost gentle, like a deep, peaceful sleep. But then, just when you think the story might be over, an angel appears. Who feels rather angelic today? So doesn't this angel look so angelic? She approaches the rich man first. And the rich man looks a little confused from his sudden death. The angel, with very strong-looking arms, motions for the rich man to follow. Yeah. And she brings him out to the other side of the gate. On the other side of the gate, the angel removes the rich man's robes and his extravagant sign. And she says, sit. The rich man quickly obeys. His eyes are very wide. Everyone knows you don't disobey an angel. Then the angel turns to Lazarus, and gently, with a loving gaze, the angel places a hand on Lazarus' shoulder and shakes him awake. Lazarus blinks up in confusion, and the angel helps him to his feet. And then the angel does something rather strange. She gives a new sign to the rich man. It says, poor man. And this poor man sign is suddenly feeling very heavy. Then, with a flourish of angelic grace, the angel twirls and takes Lazarus on a walk. Towards the house. Freeze. We have to pause the scene for a minute. Because back into the house, we have to set something unique. Inside the house, there's a very important person who is about to welcome Lazarus. And this important person is Abraham. You know, one of the most well-known God-following people in the Old Testament. So do I have somebody who is brave enough to be Abraham? I love how the parents are being recruited here. The dramatic pause and pressure. So now we can continue the scene. Abraham is waiting in the house. The angel brings Lazarus to the house, and Abraham sees Lazarus and gives the most welcoming smile. He opens his hands up wide. Lazarus dramatically runs into Abraham's arms, and they give each other a big hug and find a spot to sit on the couch that is not filled with food. The angel leaves back out the gate, making sure to lock the gate securely before leaving the scene. Can we give a round of applause for our angel? Yeah. Now the rich man, well now called the poor man, stands up and peers, barely able to peek over the gate. He can see Abraham and Lazarus in the house smiling and visiting. He scratches his head in confusion. What is going on? Why am I out here? And then he shouts to get Abraham's attention.
Hey!
Abraham, you're trying to get Abraham's attention.
Abraham!
Abraham walks over to the gate and looks at the man. He says, "What do you want?"
Lucas, sit down. What do you want? What do you want?
The rich man says, "Why are you feasting with him and not me?
Why are you feasting with him and not me?
Can't you see I'm in agony over here?
Can't you see I'm in agony over here?
Do you look like you're in agony?"
Yes.
Abraham responds, "Why would I invite you?
Why would I invite you?
You never invited anyone to your feasts."
Who have you invited to your feast?
The rich man looks desperate. He rubs his belly and he cries a little. Can't you send Lazarus to help me? Maybe he could bring me a little water. He shows off his dry tongue. Or he could bring me a little bread. He tries to give a smile like a bribe to Abraham. I don't think it worked. Abraham looks surprised and he says, "You know Lazarus' name?" The rich man nods his head. Of course he knows his name. He was always beside his gate. But Abraham shakes his head with deep sadness. You've seen him. You know his name. You've walked past him every day, but you never even looked at him. And then Abraham looks at the rich man, now the poor man, with a most serious expression and says, "Now you want him to help you?"
Now you want him to help you.
All the rich man sees Lazarus as is his servant. But suddenly the rich man gets a brilliant idea. He's extremely excited. "Father Abraham," he says, "send Lazarus to my brothers, and if they see someone rise from the dead, they'll listen, they'll change." There he goes again, treating Lazarus like an errand boy. He clasps his hands and begins to plead. He begs. But were you listening closely to the rich man? He still made no apology. He still didn't say, "I was wrong." Still no, "Let me go back and share the things that I had." Even from torment, he doesn't get it. He wants his family spared, not out of compassion for others, but just so they don't end up where he is. Abraham shakes his head slowly. "No," he says. Your family already has everything that they need. They have the scriptures and the prophets, the teachings of Moses. If they won't listen to that, then they won't be convinced, even if somebody rises from the dead. I don't know if you've seen it before, but it's sort of like a scene from the Christmas Carol. When Scrooge sees what could happen and he begs to change the future. But this rich man, he's not even as good as Scrooge. Even now, he refuses to change. And Abraham knows the truth. The message that they needed was always right in front of them. It was the scriptures they'd heard all along. Have any of you heard the scriptures before? From Deuteronomy chapter 15. If there is any one of you who is in need, a member of your community in any of your towns, do not be hard-hearted or tight-fisted toward your needy neighbor. Maybe you heard it from the prophet Isaiah. Share your bread with the hungry and bring the homeless poor into your house. Even Jesus had repeated these words, and several chapters before this parable, Jesus gave similar words of instructions. When you give a luncheon or a dinner, don't invite your friends or your brothers or your relatives or your rich neighbors. You know, the people who will just invite you back and make you feel important. Instead, do you know what Jesus said? Jesus said, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, the blind, maybe the Lazarus, and be blessed. Well, it turns out the rich man, he didn't invite the wrong people. He didn't invite anybody at all. So Abraham and Lazarus ate together, and the rich man laid crumpled outside of the gate. The rich poor man laid crumpled outside of the gate. Jesus said, people should be at your table. They should not be laying just out the gate, waiting to be seen. And everyone had heard the teaching before. The question was never, do they know the teaching? The question is...
The parable, so ends the story. If we can have our main characters stay here for the moment. I'd like for the rich man to stand up at this time, and we'll just talk a little bit about this rich poor man. He's poor now. Indeed he is. So his story ends, not with a happy resolution or a change of heart, but with a tragic truth. He remains blind. Blind to the needs around him. Blind to the call to love and serve others. He lived with everything, yet he missed one thing that mattered the most. But let's not be too quick to point fingers at him. How often do we walk past others in need, caught up in our own lives and our own comforts, maybe even closing our hearts without realizing it? The rich man's blindness is not just his. It's a trap that we can all fall into. So let's please thank our rich poor man as he returns to his seat with appreciation. If I can have Lazarus now stand. Here's Lazarus, waiting, unseen and in need. Jesus' words weren't just for the people back then, they are for us today. Who is Lazarus in our lives? Who needs our time, our love, our attention? Who are the ones who need more than just scraps? Who are the ones that need a place at our table? And maybe some of us feel like Lazarus, overlooked, waiting for someone to see us. If that's you, remember, God sees you. You are not forgotten. You have a place at his table. So let's please thank Lazarus for his participation and appreciation. Excellent. And if we can have Abraham to stand. We have the same teachings that the people have heard when Jesus shared this parable. We have the example of Jesus himself, who generously offered his love, his time, his food, and his compassion to all who needed it. So what do we do when we hear the words of the Scripture, perhaps as Abraham may have heard them ever so long ago? When we are called to see those waiting just outside of our gates, those who are hungry, hurting, or alone. Will we choose to open the gates of our hearts and our lives, or will we keep them closed? Let's thank Abraham for his participation here today. And I invite the children to return to their seats with their parents and or guardians. Thank you so much for being there and being a great audience. So thank you to all of the participants for helping us. The angel, all of you that engage the children, thank you. It helps us to see Jesus' parable in a new way. At the river, our mission is to live with boundless inclusivity. And we often say, all are welcome to the table of God. Our goal is to ensure that no gate outside of our church is closed and that no gate in our hearts keeps others from experiencing God's love. Living like this requires for us to be aware. We need to see those who may be sitting on the outside, whether physically outside of our church gathering or feeling disconnected even when they are inside of our own walls. It requires action. We must take the time and energy to stop, notice, and respond. Our challenge is to embody the life of Christ, the living example of God's ways, and then to live it out ourselves. Simply saying boundless inclusivity isn't enough. We must actively practice it every day. So how do we take Jesus' words and let them change us? We are now going to take a few minutes around our tables to talk together about two questions, contemplating this story, and maybe it's resonating with you in a personal way. We're going to have about 8 minutes to answer two questions and compose a short prayer together. Here are the two questions before you that we ask you to do. What stood out for you the most in this skit? And we invite you to just go around the table and share. Just briefly, what stood out the most for you? You can pass if you want to, that's okay, but just ensure that you're giving an opportunity for everybody around the table to share. Second question, what do you think Jesus was saying to us through the story? So go around once, first thoughts, then what do you think Jesus is trying to say? Share around the table, those that are willing, popcorn style, whatever works best at your table. Let's say that we take about 5 minutes to do just those two questions, and then I'll give you a marker, and we'll take 3 minutes for you to compose a prayer that you can write at your table. Maybe it's a poem you want to write, but what is God inviting us to do? Based on the questions and the answers that you had, what is God inviting us to do in response to this story of the rich man and Lazarus? All right? So we're going to take 8 minutes to go. So let's start right now. Thank you. There's pen and paper at your table. There's more paper if you need some. We were just looking for 2 or 3 sentence prayer, just so you know you don't have to write a full paragraph. Simple phrases, 2 or 3 sentences, however that works best for you at your table. And if I can call you all back, your attention to the front, that'd be great. So as we reflect on the parable of the rich man and Lazarus, we're not just hearing these words, but we are taking action. It's no coincidence that today we are holding our food drive. And we bring our food donations forward. We are making a tangible commitment to do the opposite of what the rich man did. We seek to care for those in need. So today's food drive is not just a one-time event. It's a symbol of how we are called to open the gates that divide us, both as individuals and as a community. The donations that we bring are a response to Jesus' teachings and represent our commitment to live with generosity, to see the needs of those around us, and to act with compassion. So here's how we will proceed. We're going to invite you to come up one table at a time, to take the food that's at your table and to bring it up here outside of the gate. Not inside where the rich man lived, but outside where Lazarus was, symbolic of where we bring our donations today, to the outside. As food is being set up by the gate, we ask one representative from your table to step forward, to pick up the mic, and to read aloud the prayer or the reflection that you have composed. After the prayer time, we will eat together. We'll close with a song, we'll have a prayer for the food, and we will eat together. That, too, is a time for you to interact with somebody perhaps that you don't know. The What's Up River people are going for the orientation, will be departing and they'll be going away, but there's others that maybe you don't know and you'd like to. So invite people to join you at your table and then pay attention to them. There are certain families, Andrea, are there certain families already lined up to help you with carrying the food? Okay, so you have one family that's already lined up and other families could help you take all the food to the care closet. And Paul, you're going to be serenading us?
That's okay.
All right, leading us in worship yet again. Thank you, Paul.
Heavenly Father, help us to remember that everything we have is given to us as a gift of your grace and love for us in the first place. Inspire us and convict us to be as gracious to others as you are to us in Jesus.
All I have is given by God. The need around me is met as I give what he has given. I overflow from his abundant grace to fill and fill when emptiness exists.
Jesus, please help us to love the poor and not be blind to their needs. And just like Jesus, that he did not ignore them, please help us feed them.
Dear God, we ask that you would open our hearts and our hands to generously share not only our resources, but our lives with those who are in need.
Lord, open our eyes to ways that we can serve others. Help us to extend Christ's grace and kindness towards others, and help us to serve with humility, to recognize when we make mistakes and to reconcile our wrongs.
Dear God, help us to open our eyes to see our needy neighbors. with love and compassion through eyes like Jesus.
Open our eyes, Lord, to see with your eyes. Open our eyes to those around us in need. There is suffering all around us, and we block our view with our agendas and our stuff. Open our eyes to your will and what your kingdom looks like. Challenge us to open the gate, let others in and be changed, so that your kingdom may flourish in our hearts and in our lives.
Heavenly Father, we have so much. Help us to share in our bounty and generosity and to treat others with respect and kindness. Please help us to guide us to see what is needed.
Open our eyes to your love. May we reflect your love to those around us, particularly those in need.
Dear Jesus, help us to be more compassionate, grateful, caring, giving, brave, patient, selfless, and Christ-like. Thank you for all your blessings. Dear Jesus, thank you for our capability to share. Help us notice and respond. No, help us to notice and respond.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed this recording. Just a reminder that you can find our website at rivercommunity.ca. There you can find our events calendar with information about upcoming messages and gatherings, or sign up for currents. Feel free to send us a message on Facebook. We'd love to hear from you. Our services start 10 o'clock Sunday mornings, and you are welcome to come early for coffee, tea, and bagels. Have a great week. Bye-bye.